Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I have a great topic that I believe that you guys will enjoy. So, I wanted to talk about workplace biases. We're going to talk about unpacking workplace biases, recognizing and overcoming our blind spots. Now, I know I've had a lot of discussions about this between friends, with some colleagues, HR professionals as myself, to just kind of talk about some of these biases that do occur or actually happen in the recruitment process. But of course, if you are not aware, I just want to bring self-awareness. So when you're interviewing, as you're going through any type of interview process, or you are in HR, if you're able to train the people that you work with about these biases, because listen, we are all guilty of biases. So there's no one that is excluded from a biases, we are all guilty of them. But when you're able to recognize them and bring awareness and identify them, then you are, as they call it, self-improving so that you be aware of it when you do it, or if someone else does it, then you can kind of help them bring awareness to it, and then you can help them develop so they can be aware. So when you see me looking off, I'm gonna go ahead and give my disclaimer. I do not know all of the biases and the definitions and meanings by heart, so I'll be looking off. Please disregard. I just want to just kind of talk about that because I feel like that is a relevant topic. And I just want to share, as I mentioned to you, this is all things HR. This is a safe platform. So I want to talk about everything. So again, if you have any topics that you would like to discuss, please let me know. So as I mentioned, I want to deep dive into this topic that's very relevant and personal to me. I have encountered this. I'm sure once we talk about the different types, that other people can probably relate and say, yes, I have experienced this. So recognizing this is like the first step towards making your work environment a better place for everyone. So, in this episode, we're going to explore some common biases that may pop up. We'll chat about these. Like I said, how it affects the hiring decisions and what you can do to address them. So, let's get started. The first one is the affinity bias. So, this is when we naturally lean towards candidates who remind us of ourselves, whether it's shared interests, backgrounds, or experiences. So let me give you an example. Think about a hiring manager who feels more comfortable interviewing someone who went to the same school or shares a similar hobby. They might unconsciously favor that candidate, which can lead to overlooking other highly qualified candidates. So again, let's say another example, like again, I did attend an HBCU. So let's say I may favor someone and we may have more conversation or conversation topics around another person that went to the same school as me. But let's say it's someone that went to maybe another HBCU or an Ivy League school, they may be a little bit more qualified, but because we shared a common interest, I decided to go with them, which again, that does happen. It's not unusual, but doesn't make it right. No, we should definitely be looking at all the things from experiences to education to how they interview, how they're interviewing, how they're connecting with people. Those are very important things that we should consider when we're selecting the right talent for that specific role. So, this bias can really limit diversity in teams. To combat this, organizations should implement structured interviews and diverse hiring panels. That way, this challenge um, can also eliminate personal preferences and create a more inclusive environment. And again, without calling names, yes, did I experience that as I worked in the corporate world? Absolutely, I did. Um, it is very common. Um, when you have a diverse panel of interviewers and when they interview, um, you give different perspectives. So let's say, for instance, you may have one person that may just be individually saying they prefer out of the four candidates you interview one, and then the others may decide they like the same candidate. So by giving these different perspectives, then you're not falling into the category of this offending bias that I just mentioned. So the second is a confirmation bias. So this is when we look for information that supports what we already believe while ignoring anything that contradicts it. So, for example, imagine a recruiter who thinks a candidate won't fit into the company culture. They might focus only on the parts of the interview that conform this belief, missing out on evidence that shows the candidate's potential. So, to help with this, or a solution would be, it's crucial for the recruiters and the candidates to stay open-minded. Job seekers should seek feedback from different sources, and recruiters should consider a variety of perspectives during the hiring process. So this is a good one as well, because again, a lot of job seekers, you guys do not ask for feedback. When you ask for feedback, this is an opportunity to help you become better as you interview for future opportunities. And whatever you may have lacked, maybe in that particular interview, you can gain that and become a, better or better person to interview as you're interviewing. Um, like it already mentioned about how sometimes recruiters can definitely have this bias. We kind of miss a lot of things. There are a lot of gaps that are in the recruitment process. So when you're able to identify these different biases, then therefore you can bring awareness in you in the interview and let the recruiter, the hiring manager during the interviews, let them know, hey, I recognize this. Is this okay? Or I'm not comfortable with this, or I don't think that it's fair. And then therefore that would allow them an opportunity to think about it and come back to it. Because if you can identify it and they didn't, then at least you brought awareness. Okay, another one is called the gender bias. Now, this is a good one. This one is particularly prevalent and can have a significant impact on the hiring and promotions. For example, during a performance review, a woman might receive feedback that focuses on her interpersonal skills, while her male counterparts are evaluated based on their technical abilities. So, to help eliminate this, or a solution would be to perpetuate stereotypes and hold women back for leadership roles. So organizations need to provide training that helps evaluators recognize and mitigate these biases to ensure fair assessments for all employees. Now, I know this happens a lot because there was at one point there were a lot of roles that, from a stereotypical view, that they felt that women could not do. And I'm not saying there are not still some stereotypes that there are roles that are more masculine than feminine. But at the end of the day, if there is a woman that is up for the challenge and they would like to apply for a role, we should not, male or female, we should not discriminate them. Just like a man going into a administrative assistant role. We shouldn't look at that just because he's a man. If that's a position he's interested in, if he wants to apply, allow him that opportunity. So let's talk about this one. Now, this is a big one, the age bias. Now, the age bias is a very, very, very common issue. For instance, a younger candidate might pass over for a management role simply because they're seen as lacking experience, even if they have the qualification to excel. Or it could be where companies may want a younger person instead of a more seasoned professional because they can pay them less. And they know that a seasoned professional may require a little bit more in compensation. So it's important to have mentorship programs that encourage knowledge exchange between the younger and the older employees. This can break down age-related stereotypes and foster a more inclusive workplace. And to add more to this, there has just been an incident this year with Workday. Workday did have a lawsuit, that someone filed a lawsuit because they felt like um, they were using the age bias in particular roles that they applied to. Now, does this happen? Absolutely. I cannot disagree with you that it does happen. But again, once you are aware and know that things happen, or if you question these things, then therefore you're able to get answers to some of the questions that you may have, and therefore we can kind of put or eliminate at least the majority of it once it's brought out. I know there are a lot of companies that were going towards Workday. They moved from other different types of programs or systems that they use, and they went and jumped into Workday. And like I said, Workday must have a heck of a sales team because a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. Now, do I say Workday is just all bad? No. But again, you can't allow these types of things to get in the way of providing quality service. Because once you let that happen, then there goes your credibility. There goes, money that you didn't have to spend out, the company spending out money if this had been identified, or because I'm quite sure that there were some people that knew that this was going on. So let's talk about stereotyping. This is when we make assumptions about a candidate based on their demographic group. Now, this is a good one too. An example of this is an employee from a certain cultural background might be expected to take on roles related to diversity initiatives, regardless of whether they have an interest in the area. So, what organizations should do, they should create environments where individuals are recognized for their unique skills and contributions rather than pigeonhole based on their stereotypes. Now, of course, this does happen. It happens in all cultures. But again, once we recognize, once we identify, once we know, as the old saying is, when you know better, you do better. So this is definitely one of these cases. Another one is called the implicit bias. Here's an example of this. A recruiter might unconsciously favor resumes with names that sound familiar or normal to them, impacting the diversity of the candidate pool without even realizing this. So, how you can kind of avoid this is doing the blind recruitment process, where names and identifying details are removed from the resumes. This can help tackle the bias and lead to fair hiring practices. Now, I know this happened a lot because people that place pictures on their resumes, um, people that put their race on there. I've seen resumes of people put their number of children that they may have. Even putting your entire address. Those are things that you should not put on there on your resume. So, to eliminate some of this implicit bias, let's not put those things in there. But still, even if you do, it still shouldn't be where you should be judged based off of those things. Because again, you can't help what you were named. And just because I may have more of an urban name versus a common name like Tom or Beth or Betty, that doesn't mean that I should those candidates should be selected versus someone that has money or more of a Afrocentric or an urban name, as I mentioned. But let's move on to the rest of the bias because I want to make sure that I have enough time to cover all of them and then just talk a little bit briefly about them and then the next segment. We have the recency bias. Now, this is another one to watch out for. During performance reviews, a manager might focus heavily on an employee's most recent project, ignoring their overall contributions throughout the year. So, a solution would be to keep ongoing performance records that can help ensure this is what companies can do that all contributions are considered, leading to fair evaluations. Now, yes, this is a good one because a lot of times every individual that contributes to their team has their strengths and weaknesses. Because I may be more of an introvert, but I do participate more in my work other than being an extrovert or participating in conversation piece around it. That doesn't mean that I should have a low performance. Now, again, I know that companies have where they want you to participate as far as discussion panels, as far as your work performance. But again, there are people that are introverts and extroverts. I am definitely an extrovert. I mean, I like to talk, as you already can tell. But that doesn't mean that someone that's an introvert that I should look at them as them not being a part of the team. Now, if they're not doing anything, yes. But there are some people that definitely do allow other people to do all the work and they just sit back and then they want to take credit for it. So I know this goes on. Again, this goes back to the accountability that I strongly advocate and talk about. So Those are some things that companies should definitely address is accountability. Here's another, an overconfidence bias. Let's not forget about this one. Sometimes recruiters might overestimate their ability to judge candidates based on gut feelings, ignoring data or structured assessments that could provide a clearer picture. So it's important for recruiters to rely on a mix of intuition and data-driven insights to make informed hiring decisions. Here's another one, attrition bias. In this case, a recruiter might think they made a great hire based on their own judgment. But if a candidate doesn't perform well, they might blame it on the candidate's lack of effort rather than considering external factors that could have influenced the outcome. So, being aware of this bias can help improve team dynamics and accountability. It's also about fostering a culture of reflection and growth. So, again, that's a good one. And that's the final one we talked about 9 different types of biases. But again, sometimes recruiters can make bad decisions when they're hiring instead of looking at the overall picture. This is why it's good to have these debrief sessions to kind of talk through everyone that's on the panel to give a score. Once you do that effectively, then you won't have an issue with this attrition bias. I know today we've unpacked and unloaded a variety of different biases that can impact our workplaces, the recruitment biases. I mean, during recruitment. I'm sorry, my apologies. But remember, we're all human, and biases are a critical part of our decision-making processes. But again, we can definitely become self-aware by recognizing them. We can become more mindful in our interactions and create a more inclusive environment. So I encourage you guys to reflect on your own experiences with biases. Have you ever noticed any of these in the workplace? Please share your thoughts with us on social media or leave a comment. I would love to hear some of your stories. Share them because, again, here at the Interview Cafe, we can help you or teach you how to talk about these with your HR personnel, talk with your manager about it, or just to kind of talk about it so that you can feel okay about feeling this type of way. Because again, when you own it, the accountability piece, you're self-aware, when you can sit down and acknowledge and make yourself aware of things that you're correct about yourself, then you can go and talk to other people about things that you have identified with them as well as yourself. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, stay aware and keep striving for a workplace that values you, diversity, and inclusion. And like I mentioned, if you have some specific topics, I would love to hear them. Thank you for allowing me to share this, and I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.